After 4 o'clock here on Kinky Afro this afternoon, and welcome to the show. Good to have you aboard right through until 7 o'clock this evening. UK MC Ghostpoet exploded onto the scene over in the UK this year with a fantastic debut album called Peanut Butter Blues and Melancholy Jams. It's been a much applauded release that owes a debt to a great many kind of musical genres, but not one in particular. And I guess that's one of the great things, the great sort of captivating elements of this album. It's a bit of a musical stew, and out of it has come a very unique affair. Ghostpoet is in town for a show at the Northcote Social Club, and he will be joining me in the Triple R studios in just a few moments. From his album, this is Lines on Triple R.
I keep on scribbling in the spare room I'm living in. Body's here but I'm never in. Why do I keep wasting time? I keep on writing, but them folk ain't biting. Maybe the bait ain't juicy enough. Sound switching, chucking spice and add some flavour. Out the heat, silly rhymes and feet type beats, yeah. But that ain't me, and nah, it just ain't me. So light me a light. These are the words of this be true. Sending them out with love and faithfully. Hopefully, they'll do something to me, cause life is too short to store our grudges. Life is too long to make no plans. I'm cutting up time that I ain't using. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need a good use for all these lines and 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 lines. I keep on scribbling in the spare room I'm living in. Body's here but I'm never in. Why do I keep wasting time? I keep on writing, but then folk ain't biting. Maybe the bait ain't juicy enough. Sound switching, chucking spice and add some flavour. Out the heat, silly rhymes and feet type beats, yeah. But that ain't me, nah, it just ain't me. So light me a light. These are the words of this me truly. Sending them out with love and faithfully. Hopefully, they'll do something to me, yeah. Life is too short to store our grudges. Yeah. Life is too long to make no plans. Yeah. I'm counting up time that I ain't using. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need a good use for all these lines and 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 lines.
Ooh, that went off quickly, didn't it? Lines from Ghostpoet and taken from his debut album, and now we're into a bit of a remix from it. That's an apt introduction for Ghostpoet in the Triple R studios. Welcome to Triple R.
Hello.
And you're here for your first shows in Australia.
Yeah.
You've been getting around the world much on the back of this album?
It's been mainly, I've been around Europe a lot.
Right.
Yeah, but this is probably the furthest I've been on the back of this.
It's a long way, isn't it?
A very far place, but really, really pleased to be here.
Yeah. It must have been a pretty crazy year for you. Peanut Butter Blues and Melancholy Jams came out in February, and you were nominated for the Mercury Music Prize, which is a very prestigious award, really, in the UK.
I would say so, yeah.
It must have felt a little surreal, really, to have a debut album and getting that much attention.
Of course. I think it was a case of I never expected it to happen, and I just wanted to bring an album out, and everything that's happened from it, be it the Mercury, be it coming to Australia because of the music I made in my bedroom in the Midlands in England, it's just a blessing, to be able to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about your sort of journey to this stage, because this is your first album, and as you just alluded to, you kind of made it in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Have you been making music for a long time?
I've been messing about with music for a long time. I've been a fan of music for even longer. I guess I've been making it properly for about maybe the last 3 years, but in terms of I was just literally, I must have been at university and in Coventry in the Midlands, and I started messing about with music and getting involved with people who were into at the time like grime music, so kind of underground UK music, and I just kind of experimented and got to the point I am today, really, just from experimenting and trying things out and trying to just create my own kind of vision of what I wanted to hear, you know. It's
interesting that you mentioned grime, which has a much sort of narrower kind of, you know, musical scope than what you're playing with on your debut album. Your album, you know, hip hop, trip hop, dubstep, grime, world music, there's indie stuff. It's a real, you know, it kind of falls through the cracks in terms of you know, a genre, which can kind of be a blessing and a curse.
I think it's something that I've kind of been more made aware of it through doing interviews and stuff like that. I didn't really think about it, and I thought I just love music as a fan, and I wanted to just put into my sound as many different sounds as possible. I wasn't really thinking at all about genre, and I still don't. And yeah, I'm pleased that it's because of the way I've decided to create it. It's opened it up to as many people as possible. You know, it's given me a wide scope of people. I just done like a headline tour in the UK, and like the biggest gig I did was in London in Scala, and a place called Scala, and it was great to see so many different types of people, you know, from young, old, male, female, black, white, so many different types of people. And that's all I want to do through my music, just reach out to as many people as possible, you know.
That's fairly typical of London, though, isn't it? That you do kind of get this kind of great melting pot of cultures.
Of course, but like I said, going around the country, it was the same kind of thing, really. Obviously on a smaller scale, depending on where I was, but it was good to see, you know.
Yeah. You made the album in Coventry, and you grew up in Coventry?
I grew up in London, and I moved to Coventry when I was about 18, and I lived there for about 10 years.
Give us a little geography lesson.
Midlands. So Coventry is very close to Birmingham, Nottingham, Wolverhampton, Leicester. It's about an hour and a half, 2 from London.
Right.
And I moved there for university, basically, and I ended up staying and living there afterwards. And I moved back to London literally about maybe 2 years ago.
Big cultural divide between the sort of Coventry scene and the London scene. I mean, it's not far.
I wouldn't say divide. It's not far. It's not. Yeah. You'd think it'd be pretty much similar, but it's different, I guess, because it's not maybe as multicultural as London, and a lot of people seem to. Coventry is one example, but with a lot of places outside of London, people seem to want to go to London to make it or to be part of the scene in London. So it's got its own scene. It's kind of, I guess, indie. It's a bit of dance, a bit of old school like drum and bass, jungle, but mainly kind of this pop stuff, really, overall. Right. Yeah.
So the grime stuff you're into would have been, you know, a little bit outside of the mainstream. It would have been sort of very underground, I guess.
I guess so. You had a lot of people from London who went up to university there, so I guess that came with it, I guess.
Yeah. Pirate radio has a big impact all over the UK, doesn't it, in terms of, you know, people being exposed to sounds that perhaps they wouldn't hear on regular radio. Yeah. Did that sort of play a part in your expanding your musical consciousness?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I guess when I was younger, nowadays it's not as prolific as it used to be, but yeah, definitely I used to listen to a lot of the stuff, like UK underground stuff was through pirate radio, so jungle, drum and bass, garage, old school garage, grime, American hip-hop and UK hip-hop was through pirate radio first and foremost. Yeah.
Has MySpace overtaken it?
MySpace, it did. MySpace had its time, I guess. I started off on MySpace, but yeah, it's a bit different nowadays with MySpace.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see the phoenix rising again, but certainly not at the moment.
Not at the moment, no. You know, you've got so many different things now other than MySpace. So I don't know.
Yeah. The album itself is quite low key. You know, I said to you just off air before, it's been a real sort of slow burner for me. It kind of, you know, it takes a few listens. It really kind of gets under your skin, and that's what's quite rewarding about it in a sense. The lyrics seem quite personal. And I guess I'm wondering, is it an album very much sort of born of its time, a particular era in your life that you kind of diarised in a sense?
I guess there's an element of that. I think it was a case of definitely I wanted to have a snapshot of my own life, as well as just the lives of people around me and the people that I came across on a daily basis through just seeing people on the street or working with people or so on and so forth. And I wanted to just have a snapshot of all that, my world, so to speak, on record in the sound that I was making at the time.
Yeah. You have Dominican heritage, is that right?
Yeah, half Dominican and half Nigerian.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay. So where did you grow up? You just all in Coventry, or did you spend a bit of time
in London?
Yeah,
so
okay.
I was born and bred in London, and I've been to Nigeria a few times. I've never been to Dominica.
Right.
But that was, I was listening to a lot of that kind of stuff when I was a kid. I still do, but it's one of many type of genres, as in Afrobeat and high life, as in Nigerian music. And with the Dominican side of me, you've got reggae and calypso and dub music.
It's such a rich heritage,
of course,
isn't it? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's important, but it's not what defines what I do.
Yes, yeah. So what next for your have you got another album in the works? Or?
Well, I'm working on new stuff. Hopefully I'll have a new single out this year at some point. And then it's working towards a second album, which I hope to bring out maybe next year at some point. But I'm not trying to, I just want to take my time with it and really just come up with something that I'm happy with as a listener first and foremost before putting it out there,
Well, they say you've got your whole life to make your first album, and then you've only got a year or two to put your second one together. True. It makes it very sort of challenging, I suppose, doesn't it?
Indeed. But it's a good challenge. It's what I want to do. It's my passion. So we'll see how it goes, really,
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's I like the kind of air of mystery about your name because if you put anyone with poet in their name, there's a sort of this high literary sort of implications. But you're probably more Gil Scott-Heron than Shelley, I suppose.
Thank you very much. I think with hindsight, I wouldn't have used poet in my name because it's like I get connected with poetry and poets and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think maybe it's a subconscious thing. I guess it's definitely a case of I'm trying to create music with the idea of viewing people's lives and kind of poetry of sorts, but it's not poetry in its purest form.
Yeah. Street poetry. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
It's been great to have you. Congratulations on your excellent album.
Thank you.
Your shows, you're doing some live stuff in your shows, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
You got a band? Or?
Yeah, I got a drummer and a guitarist who's come over with me. So yeah, it's a different listening experience from the album.
Yeah. So how different? Like, how does it all?
It's livelier, and it's definitely more of I guess more energy, and it's more a kind of. I wanted to have a situation where, if I'm going to, when I was thinking about doing the live show, I wanted it to be how I envision live to be, in the sense of a different experience from the CD listening experience, and it's much more of a enjoyable thing. I think the album is an enjoyable thing.
You got more of a smile on your face?
Yeah, no, for me, because I've been gigging a lot recently. I've gigged a lot. Like I said, I just finished my UK tour, doing a tour here, then off to Europe afterwards, and it's like I enjoy live a lot, much more than I used to in the beginning. So it's it's something that we've been working on for a while, and it's good to come over here and do it.
Are there any performers in particular in the UK that have been kind of inspirational for you in terms of the live stuff? Well,
I always go back to like the old kind of like I'm a big fan of like punk music, like the Clash and the Sex Pistols and people like that. I always when I look at live, I like their passion, what they get across in their live opportunities, and I like the idea of that. And so people like that really inspire me, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to getting a blast of that energy on stage at your show. Ghostpoet, thanks for coming into Triple R, and let's hear another track from your album. This is Us Against Whatever. Let me try and get this right. Us Against Whatever Ever. I'm going to try that again because it was rude of me to cut it off halfway through, wasn't it? Ghostpoet.
And it's finished at 8.
25 after 4, Triple R.
Nice one. wanna get north. Now I've got dreams, but they're mixed up in the puddles of the mind. And I need time, Casio, Seiko, Diesel, whatever. It's my United K of whatever. I ain't too clever, but just like chips spit whenever the weather. Feel much better, but spare endeavors got me engrossed like birds of a feather. I bought me some leather, but I ain't satisfied. Life from the gritty side is hard at best. I beat on my chest to blow out all the cobwebs I'm feeling. Needed much more revealing, much more revealing, but I ain't finished. I just ain't finished. I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. I ain't finished. I just ain't finished. Yeah, I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. Scream, shout, shake it all about. I'm well a little nervous, I just jiggle it about. You know what I'm talking about. I won't just shy out and start talking air like late night telly shopping. Used to think, damn, I'm not your little voice, don't be sighing. Life's too short just to give up now, so I gain up a lit. F the apocalypse of doubting, wallowing and dry mouth swallowing, and sips of solitude create ill attitude and form the attitude to go get it. And I won't quit it. Cut me, I bleed rap. Hemorrhage track, triple nines on track. So please don't think I won't go through my heart and ashes in the wind all the way to the stars, and over the mountains and over the cars, and reincarnate and come back to the star. I ain't finished. I just ain't finished. I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. I ain't finished. I just ain't finished. Nah, nah, I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. And what they say and what they've done, this all looks plain under the sunlight. It's all the same to me. Untrained history. I'm like, what they say and what they've done, this all looks plain under the sunlight. It's all the same to me. Untrained history. I ain't finished. I just ain't finished. Nah, nah, I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. I ain't finished. Nah, I just ain't finished. Nah, nah, I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. I ain't finished. I just ain't finished. Nah, I just ain't finished. Nah, 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 nah. I got tons in my brain, I gotta get it out. I ain't finished. Nah, I just ain't finished. Nah, nah, nah. I just ain't finished. Nah, nah.